self-expression. What we wear every day sends a message to those who see us. The idea of showing other people who we really are through our manner of dressing seems to have been lost in the tide of trends. Some simply follow the fashion trends. Others wear whatever is the most convenient. For people like these, freedom in fashion has been distorted into dressing how everybody else is dressing, sometimes without limitations or restrictions. In our paper, we discuss and show how women from different life stages live their freedom decisively by committing themselves to the virtue of modesty while still maintaining their freedom of self-expression. We analyzed the fashion blogs according to the three dimensions of this year's theme. You are going to see later in our presentation how we applied living freedom and decisively to our objectives and results and discussions. As in this method, the important points are easily understood. Why did we then choose fashion blogs as the highlight of our study? The researchers believe that it is the most accessible, most convenient, and most effective medium to spread advocacies that can span through geographical limitations. As quoted from Clothed Munch, everyone has different takes on modesty. I find it important because I know I respect my body and that I don't have to flaunt it to everyone to show that I have style or fashion. I want the world to see me as who I am, not my physical body. For Ala Modest, the desire to dress modestly must come from deep in your heart and convictions. It does not come from being too rigid or religious, but from a personal life-changing transformation, just like your faith. As seen from the excerpts from the blog posts of these bloggers, it is their own personal decision to commit themselves to the virtue of modesty and to show that you can be fashionable while still being modest. For our objectives, under the dimension of living, how do these bloggers express who they are through their clothes and fashion preference? Under the dimension of freedom, how do these fashion bloggers maintain their freedom of expression through modesty despite blatant disparity from mainstream fashion and restrictions in the clothing choices available? And finally, under the dimension of decisively, how do these bloggers live out their commitment to the virtue of modesty? For our methodology, we opted for a content analysis of how fashion bloggers in different stages of their lives combine fashion and modesty, and other readily available information in their blogs, such as their daily blog posts and About Me pages. In addition, some of the parameters that we used for the blogs were: first, the blogger should have explicitly stated a dedication to dressing modestly. Second, it should have existed for a minimum of 1 year. Third, the post should be at least once every 2 weeks. All of the bloggers are based in the US, although one of them is a Korean by blood and another is a half Filipina. For each category, 2 blogs were chosen as representatives of each particular stage in a woman's life. Emily the Person and Mod Style Lounge for students, Modestia and Modly Chic for young professionals, Ala Modest and Clothed Much for married professionals, and finally, A Mother's Life and Modestly Styled for mothers. To make things clearer, married professionals refer to women who are recently married and do not have children yet. As of the time being, they are more focused on their respective professions. Mothers, on the other hand, refer to those who are married and have children already. They are more concerned with taking care of their children. Here are a few of the data strands that we gathered from each category. For the students category, modesty is a choice, a style that can be adapted to the way you like to dress. Dressing modestly doesn't mean giving up dressing trendy. It just means looking harder for fashionable clothes that don't show off your body. This is a quote from One Style Lounge. For the young professionals category, it It was the struggle to find clothing that worked with my body type and still looked young and professional that got me interested in fashion. This is a quote from Wally Chic. For the married professionals category, modest clothing has made my relationship with my husband stronger and more meaningful. We are working as a team to reject the lust in our lives through our individual efforts. He tries his best to look away from and not dwell on sexual images and immodestly dressed women, and I try my best to aid in preventing other men from looking at me inappropriately. This is a quote from Ala Modest. And for the mothers category, it is our job as mothers of daughters to make sure that our daughters' appearances are not causing males to stumble or causing females to point to them as examples to make their cases. This is a quote from a mother's life. For our results and discussion, under living, we ask, how do these bloggers express who they are through their clothes and fashion preference? And from our study, we learned that by posting their pictures on their blogs, these bloggers not only show their readers how they chose to be modest, but they also let other people witness if they are succeeding in their battle or not. Under freedom, we ask, how do these fashion bloggers maintain their freedom of expression through modesty despite blatant disparity from mainstream fashion and restrictions in the clothing choices available? And from our study, we learned that being modest is a conscious decision on the parts of these bloggers. It is not an imposition on their freedom, but an excellent venue for the expression of the values they believe in and to the virtues they commit themselves to. And under decisively, we ask, how do these bloggers live out their commitment to the virtue of modesty? And finally, from our study, we learned that the fashion bloggers have their own ways of standing strongly by their decision to dress modestly. Beyond posting their daily outfits, most of the bloggers have blog features and activities that make it easier for other people to follow in their footsteps. Thus, we come to appreciate that freedom is used properly when it is directed towards the good. A quote from Saint Josemaria Escriva. Based on our research, we have concluded that first, women have found a right way of living freely by making a choice to live out their values concretely. Second, the study showed that women could have their own sense of personal freedom that is rooted in their commitment to the virtue of modesty. The lack of modest clothing available has been met as a challenge and an exercise for perseverance. With crafty modifications, these women chose to look beautiful and dignified. They chose to create their own rules suited to their different life principles and virtues. Finally, these empowered women take modesty a step further by providing their reader, their followers, a chance to adapt modesty for themselves also. Through the seemingly simple task of dressing up, these women chose to live their freedom decisively. To push forward the modesty movement, we recommend that women create more modest fashion blogs. The researchers noticed a lack of modest fashion blogs outside US and other Western countries. There is a need to create similar modest fashion blogs outside the Western realm in order to cater to the ways of the thinking of the East. Also, we recommend that women promote modesty through other means, such as modest fashion shows, magazines, and boutiques. They show that modesty should not be just a personal battle, but a struggle to be shared with others. And thus, this study reorients the mindset of women of this time regarding the importance of dressing appropriately without forgoing beauty and style. As quoted from Yves Saint Laurent, over the years, I have learned that what is important in a dress is the woman who is wearing it. We don't need to show our flesh to be in style. Our paper affirms that with modesty, we can still be fashionable and beautiful. This ends our presentation. Thank you for listening.